Good day everyone, my name is Marinel Isolana, a third-year BSHM HRA student of Basilian University, Philippines. In this video, I will discuss 5 legal codes that I have picked. Also, I want to remind everyone that this video is only intended for educational purposes. So let's start with Republic Act 11313, which is also known as Safe Spaces Act. On April 17, 2019, the previously known as the Bawal ang Bastos Bill or Republic Act 11313 Safe Spaces Act was signed into law. The law focused on gender-based sexual harassment in public areas such as streets, privately owned places open to the public, and public utility vehicles, and among others. It also included the protection even to cyberspace and provides for prohibited acts and their corresponding penalties. Prior to the passing of the law, there were several local government units who have passed ordinances in their respective cities in the effort to put a stop to what they call catcalling, panghihipo, lewd words, and other more. With regard to online cases, the task falls on the anti-cybercrime group of the PNP. In addition to penalizing acts of the gender-based sexual harassment in public places, the Safe Spaces Act also expands the 1995 Anti-Sexual Harassment Act. Formerly, sexual harassment was only punished when committed by someone who was authority, influence, or moral ascendancy over the victim. Under the Safe Space Act, acts committed between peers, by a subordinate to a superior officer, by a student to a teacher, or by a trainee to a trainer are now covered as punishable sexual harassment. So here is a scenario which is related to this legal code. It says here that a 30-year-old construction worker was arrested by local police in Compostela Town, Northern Cebu, after he allegedly showed his genitals to a female worker of a food manufacturing firm on Friday, December 9, 2022. Dario was arrested by Compostela Town Police after Rosana filed a complaint against him. The personnel is set to file charges against Dario for violating Republic Act 11313 or the Safe Spaces Act, otherwise known as the Bawal Bastos Law. Now let's proceed to our next legal code. Public Act No. 10361, also known as Domestic Workers Act or Batas Kasambahay. The Batas Kasambahay is the law governing the rights and liabilities of both the domestic workers and their respective employers. This legal code requires an employment contract be executed between the domestic worker and the employer before the commencement of the service in a language or dialect understood by both of them. So what are the specific acts declared unlawful under the law? So first, it can be employment of children below 15 years of age. Second, withholding of the kasambahay wages. Third, interference in the disposal of the kasambahay's wages. Fourth, requiring kasambahay to make deposit for loss or damage. Fifth, placing the kasambahay under the debt bondage. And lastly, charging another household for temporarily performed tasks. The domestic worker and the employer may mutually agree upon written notice to terminate the contract of the employment to end the employment relationship. For the protection of the employer, all communication and information pertaining to the employer or members of the household shall be treated as privileged and confidential, and shall not be publicly disclosed by the domestic worker during and after employment. Lila, a kasambahay in Barangay Socorro, Murphy, Cubao, earns less than 2,500 a month, not only for household work but also for medical assistant. In addition to household chores, she also works as her employer's nurse. Now let's proceed to Republic Act 10354 or the Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Act of 2012. So what is the RH law? This law is a national policy that mandates the Philippine government to comprehensively address the needs of Filipino citizens when it comes to responsible parenthood and reproductive health. As such, the RH law guarantees the following. First is the access to services on reproductive health and family planning, with due regard to the informed choice of individuals and couples who will accept these services. Second is the maternal health care services, including skilled birth attendance and facility-based delivery. The third one is the reproductive health and sexuality education for the youth. And lastly is the regular funding for the law's full implementation. And who shall benefit from the RH law? So the RH law has mostly benefited Filipino women who have long been denied full RH information and services. According to the 2011 Family Health Survey, unmet need for FP2 among married women remains high at 19.3% for birth spacing and 8.8% for limiting births. More importantly, total unmet need for FP is significantly higher among poor women, which is 25.8%, and non-poor women, which is 16.6%. In turn, women will have the authority to make decisions about their own bodies. In Duet's case, she had no clue what a birth control pill was until her boyfriend introduced it to her. In senior high school, she said their teacher made no more than a passing reference to sex by saying, "You know this already." But a majority of us do not know what that is. In July 2018, the Department of Education issued policy guidelines for a comprehensive sexuality education in which teachers are directed to facilitate education on sexuality and sexual behaviors. The said order supports Republic Act No. 10354, or the Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Act of 2012. Demetria Melgar said that CSE is very important because it talks about a broad range of topics including abstinence, consent, and respect. In educating young people about sexual and reproductive health, Alfredo Melgar, Likhaan Program Director, said the neutral or non-judgmental persona of chatbot may help young people overcome embarrassment or taboos. The approach to messaging has to be succinct, inventive, and creative in order to get the attention of the young users. Next legal code is Republic Act 9710, also known as Magna Carta of Women. The MCW is a comprehensive women's human rights law that seeks to eliminate discrimination through the recognition, protection, fulfillment, and promotion of the rights of Filipino women, especially those belonging in the marginalized sectors of the society. It conveys a framework of rights for women based directly on international law. The MCW establishes the Philippine government's pledge of commitment to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women's Committee in its 36th session in 2006, and to the UN Human Rights Council on its first Universal Periodic Review in 2009. The Gabriela Party List group is asking the House of Representatives to conduct an inquiry into the cases of women who have gone missing, including that of a 15-year-old biker who was later found dead in Bustos, Bulacan. Under House Resolution No. 284, filed by Gabriela Party List, Representative Arlene Brosas, the Committee on Women and Gender Equality, and the Committee on Public Order and Safety are being asked to check on the reported cases of the missing women, citing 4 cases where the women were later found dead after being reported missing or have remained still missing. The lawmaker also stressed that Republic Act No. 9710, or the Magna Carta of Women, actually mandates the government to protect women from possible causes and all forms of violence. And now let's proceed to our last legal code, Republic Act 11930, Anti-Online Sexual Abuse, or Exploitation of Children Act and Anti-Child Sexual Abuse of Exploitation Materials Act. The newly signed law ensures that every child is protected from all forms of abuse and exploitation, especially those committed with the use of information and communication technology. In 2020, World Vision in the Philippines published the research entitled Community Perspectives on Online Sexual Exploitation of Children, which highlighted the crucial role of the community in amplifying surveillance and improving reporting of crimes, facilitating rescues, reintegration, and restoration of children victim survivors. The House of Representatives referred to this study during the congressional inquiry on the reported increase in online exploitation of children in the country during the COVID-19 enhanced community quarantine. In the same year, the International Justice Mission released a groundbreaking study confirming Philippines as a global hotspot for online sexual exploitation of children. So our case scenario for this legal code is when a victim witness coordinator designate of the Department of Justice Davao, Peter John Cabanilla, said during Kapihan's Philippine Information Agency Davao on Friday that most of those cases involved no less than the parents who forced their children into online prostitution for income. He said abuses were notably higher during the pandemic when work-from-home arrangement was encouraged, making it easy for perpetrators to lure minors into online prostitution. He said victims of the online sexual exploitation came from low-income families affected by the pandemic. And that would be the end of my discussion. Thank you for watching.